What's up, guys? We are here with episode 2 of what we've called Kale and Kettlebells. You know, my cousin Marco being a trainer, myself being a dietitian, it just fit. On our first episode, if you haven't checked it out, we just talk a little bit about ourselves. We talk about soccer. We talk about injuries, caffeine, sleep, all these random things that people care about. We also talked a little bit about something special, and that little something was called Diablo 2, which is probably the most influential video game of both of our lives because we're both a bit nerdy. So today's video, episode Diablo 2, we'll call it. We're just going to talk about this game, which some of you are probably aware of. So, Marco, what's your first memory of Diablo 2? Let's start with that.
First memory. Honestly, the thing I remember most when I was a kid playing Diablo was PvP. Like, all I remember is Necromancer was my favorite character. And I didn't have Enigma. I didn't have great gear. I had a bit of hand-me-down gear. I didn't understand the concept at the time. I was so young. I didn't understand the concept of like magic finding or actually going out and playing a lot of PVM and finding gear. And I remember just getting schooled for the most part in the Bloodmoor.
Okay. Yeah.
Because without Enigma, and if you're not a sorceress, like you're going to be screwed against pretty much everyone else. I remember I still kind of held my own. But funny, that was my memory.
The one thing I'll say is you keep talking about Enigma. Like it's funny because like that wasn't even a thing when I that's a later addition to the game. Like that's not even when I was dabbling in it later, when I was messing around with you guys, like you and some of our other friends, I never even used it. So like, it's totally funny. It's a completely different context. True. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll let you finish your thought though.
No, that's pretty much it. That's my main childhood memory for the most part about Diablo 2, actually. Yeah.
So, I mean, I actually played the original Diablo back in the day with my, two of my closest friends, Carrie and Josh. Like I remember we would literally have what we called like Diablo night in Canada. And then I remember, Josh's dad would like 30 minutes in be like, yeah, you got to go to sleep. Cause you know what I mean? And like it would always be cut short. And this is actually a funny story. Carrie one time actually was like saying something like, but he was pissed. And I think his dad overheard it. And he had actually met his dad. So it was actually, that's a hilarious memory. That was a hilarious memory, but I'll never forget the one day. Now, the original Diablo 2, there's an expansion pack. So anyone watching this, like if they don't like, they're not going to bother if they don't know Diablo 2, because we've already been using terms that are way over going to random people's heads. So, what my first memory is, I remember like I had to get a new computer just to play it because I had, around my age back then, this would have been the year 2000. Like I had a much worse computer than my friends, and I wasn't capable of playing it. So I remember I got a new one, and I remember like the character creation screen, whatever, the Amazon specifically. I think that was my first ever character. Not that, and in the end, Amazon's not a character I ultimately enjoyed that much. I don't know that I have a favorite character, but what would you say? Actually, it's a good question. I'll think about it for a second, but what is your favorite character now? Like considering the totality, if you could only play one for the rest of your life, what would it?
Okay. I would say like this. Okay. So if you word it like that, it's tougher to answer, but I'll put it like this.
Or give a couple different iterations.
I'll give a few different characters for a few different reasons. Number one, favorite. Okay. So for anyone who isn't already familiar with it, PvP would be player versus player, which is kind of like the end game of Diablo 2, the ultimate end game.
Don't worry about that. No one's watching this, so they don't know Diablo already.
Sure. Yeah. Fair enough, I guess. Yeah. So favorite PvP character would for sure be Necromancer. It is actually arguably one of the stronger classes. It's not necessarily the outright best class. And it's not overpowered in other ways in the game. PvP, great character. I love the play style.
Yep.
And the other nice thing about it is that the damage can't be absorbed. So oftentimes, like if you're playing in a pub game, usually it's kind of like all things go type of thing. Because my second favorite, or what would have been my otherwise favorite PvP character, would have been a fire sorceress. But it's so easy in the game to absorb fire damage that if someone really wants to, they can nullify most of your damage and just make it a lot more one-sided.
And that's changed a lot as well because, I have a very distinct memory going to, Fairview Mall, which was like a mall in the like the East-ish, it's like part of Toronto. And I remember taking a bus there with my friend Josh in 2001, the summer, picking the game up, and my first that was the expansion pack. Sorry to clarify, that was purchasing the expansion pack specifically, which is really the game now. It has been the game for the entirety of the time. And fire sources, obviously sorcerer is always popular class, but I'll never forget, like and I told you this before in our private conversations, but the what's the area outside of Act 5 now? I'm having like a brain freeze.
Hold on, Frigid Highlands.
Yeah, the Frigid Highlands, whatever. The area directly outside Act 5 was like the rushing zone, and fire source was like the main thing when expansion came out, a firewall source specifically. And I remember I had one called Fiery Passion, and like I was on the ladder. I had Chromatic Ire, which was like stabs were a big thing back then. It wasn't like orbs like now. And I got hacked, and so I mean I might have to place that specific character as my favorite of all time, because when you're younger, you play Diablo differently than now. Now it's like it's a path of least resistance. Like, I don't want to put any effort in. If I'm gonna play, like, I made a summon Necro, which I never had done previously. I really enjoyed it because it was so easy. I just chill, and like you don't really need much, and just like the minions take care of it. But damn, that was a good memory.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, fast forwarding just a tiny bit is a bit of a side note. It's funny how recently with the Diablo 2 Resurrected, they
beautiful work.
Oh yeah, amazing. Especially as we both agree, the fire spells are the most improved visuals, arguably.
I agree.
And they actually temporarily, probably accidentally, boosted firewall damage, like damage over time, all for some reason. Maybe it's because of I'm not sure, frame rate or something in the code that they did or they didn't acknowledge in the transition. Boosted damage over time spells, and firewall ended up being actually viable, which for the last 20 years or so, maybe less, maybe a bit less. But
on release, it was the best. But you know what? It might have been because of how overused it was on release.
And then they nerfed it,
and they never looked back. Although who knows? There's been so many versions.
But for stuff like that, they never looked back for sure. I could pretty much, we could both bet a lot on that it's not like it came and went and they kept nerfing and buffing it. They probably just like hard nerfed it, and then that was a wrap. My favorite PVM character, like actually playing through the game, Frenzy Barbarian, hands down. I love it. I just love the playstyle. I love it. It's in your face kind of thing. It's very gear dependent. It's a struggle, and it's very like engaging, and I enjoy that compared to like a spellcaster for playing through the actual game. And even more than a paladin, for example, the paladin is such a strong character that even if you're like a Zeal paladin with the kinds of shields that can drop, how easy it is to stack resist and max block and stuff, I don't find it as rewarding as like a Frenzy Barb. Frenzy Barb's like, you go in there, you better know how to like try to gear yourself with what you got and like understand how to play.
That's exactly
otherwise
opposite
you'll get destroyed.
I'm that guy. Like for me, like the Frenzy Barb in theory sounds good, but as you know, my attentiveness and my play style is like way too laissez-faire to really use that. I'm that guy. Like, I'll take the Hammerton, I'll take the max block, I'll take the vigor, and the redemption, and and kind of like ride that into the sunset. Because I mean, like, obviously over the years, like I play I remember I had a wind druid that got like TP PK'd. Realistically, we've all had like multiple versions of the same characters across like most classes between the two of us. But what's an interesting question actually, because I have a good story for this, so I want to know yours. What would you say your best ever drop is, and then your most memorable drop? Because I think there's kind of a different.
Okay, okay, so we both have a good one for this. Well, okay, my best ever drop was actually recent. This was probably, I don't know, roughly 6 months ago or something. Like I was dabbling in D2 before Resurrected came out. And I was messing around in the Frigid Highlands, killing Shank and the minions around Shank, and never dropped any meaningful high rune, because it's not like we alluded to the other episode. Like, I didn't play a tremendous amount. I've never played a tremendous amount of Diablo 2. I care a lot more about the mechanics and doing math outside of the game than playing it. But anyways, I dropped a jaw rune.
Yeah, I remember.
That was insane. I literally couldn't believe it. Yeah. And I told you when it happened, I was like, imagine if this happens on Diablo 2 reset when we projected that the prices of runes would be astronomical, right? So
would you also qualify as your most memorable drop? Because I have a different answer for that question. Okay. So I'm gonna give I would say if I had to think there's two. I mean, obviously you know the story. I'll say it. This is a great story. So I was playing. I think it was D2 original. It probably had to be. And I gambled an SOJ Stone of Jordan in Act 4 off of whatever her name is, Jambalaya or whatever. I forget her name.
Yeah.
I forget her name.
Jamali or something.
Yeah, I forget her name. But I gambled it and I couldn't believe it. And of course, I'm an idiot. So basically I traded it off for I think just Oom's Lament, Ooms and Frostburns. I can't remember. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
Now, in the end, ultimately, it didn't really, obviously, didn't really matter. But I never forget that. And my most memorable drop, it's weird, but probably my most memorable one was on release. Back, I was doing a bail run and Talrash's Mask dropped. I think on day 1 or 2 or early days. I think I literally had a wolf druid at the time. I think I picked it up. I don't know if I picked it up or if it just dropped and I missed it. But I don't know. It was such a big deal for me because at that time, Talrash's Mask, because you got to realize this is 20 years ago, a dual leech mask at that time.
True.
I think this is pre-Vamp Gaze probably, or maybe not. I can't remember.
Interesting, yeah. But either way, yeah.
And then day 1, that's a sorceress set, right? That was a massive, and I didn't look at things in the way that someone now might with depreciating values and when you're at that age, you're just you don't think about those types of things. You don't analyze them.
I mean, it's a very useful drop regardless. Now the funny thing is, it's the least
mercs now as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's very viable. One of the top 3 to 5 mercenary. I'm just letting the dog in.
Yeah, it's fine.
So Talrash's Mask though is probably the least rare, or in other words, most common drop of the set. But I could see the appeal, especially on day 1. That's a big deal, especially when you're not using third-party sites for trading and stuff, right? Where in a fair market or in an open market, where the prices are just dictated by supply and demand, an item like that is far less impressive. But in the game, when you find a nice item like that, that's a big deal, especially on day 1. So
I remember I mean, it's funny because you talk about the forums and stuff, and when I remember trading in the in just the trade channels. That's how it used to be. It's pretty funny. And Nick, when you're young, again, it's a cool, novel experience. But as you get older, the inefficiency. I mean, I don't think trading in those capacities even exists.
It does, but it is, but it's certainly not the most popular way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is actually an interesting question for myself and also for other people. So you have a high level of knowledge about the intricacies of Diablo, technical details, and you may even be filming some footage going forward. So we'll look forward to that. But name 1 or 2 item traits or game mechanics that, so maybe not obvious ones castrate frames that you look up, but something that people don't, even myself, something that a lot of people don't understand, don't appreciate. Because I think that, or you can name more than 2, but just drop some knowledge on us.
Okay. Well, one comes to mind, but there's so many. If I had a bit more time to think about it, I'd probably give multiple very interesting ones
on that. Or you need to do those episodes too.
One that comes to mind, one that stands out to me is that a lot of people, even pros, people who are very experienced with Diablo, people who take PvP very seriously, most people that play Diablo do not understand that there are significant penalties in Nightmare and further in Hell to Life Leech and Mana Leech.
I didn't know that. I'll say that. I did not know that myself.
So what people don't understand is the way, for example, Life Leech works is, this is both Life Leech and Mana Leech.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, sure.
And you can answer this as part of your response is, okay, so if there's a penalty, does that mean that it becomes more important to get it, or do you not even bother with it?
It's less effective. It's less effective, so it's less important.
Okay.
Yeah, because it'd be let's say something worked at only 10% effectiveness in Hell. It's it's overall, it's less desirable. That's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So here's the only caveat is the Necromancer spell, Life Tap.
Right.
It's massive life leech. Any monster cursed with it or any player cursed with it will be leeched from at massive amounts, and there's no penalties, so it makes it exponentially more valuable. But here's how the penalties work. whatever percentage life leech you have, which are always whole numbers. First in Nightmare, it's divided. It's basically cut in half. So it has a 1/2 multiplier attached to it.
Yeah. So
and then
10% life leech, it goes to 5. And if you
in hell, it's 1/3. It's 1/3.
Right.
And so here's how the penalty works though. If you have 2% life leech, it's always rounded down. So you have 0.
Really? So if you have 6% life leech on a weapon, that gets rounded down to 2. It's like having no life leech at all.
No. It'll have like 2. It'll effectively be 2% now.
Okay. So you're saying
6.
Okay, I see. So you have
if it's 2%,
that's useful knowledge. That's useful knowledge for anyone. Yeah, that's very interesting.
And a lot of people overvalue life leech items or mana leech, even especially in PvP.
Right.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you want 2% more than 0 though? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, not if it just gets rounded down to 0.
People
pay.
What if? No, I'm saying 2%, meaning if you have
6%, yeah, sure.
A 6% life leech ring is still like
the effect. The effect, if you do the math on a duel, right? Like so
do you disregard? So when you build a character yourself, and like what I'm gonna definitely have you do is I'm gonna have you pick, because this is actually really fascinating. I'm gonna have you pick 5 things that go like this under the radar. We'll have a whole episode on it, but if you make a character yourself, do you disregard leech completely because it's just like you don't even bother with it?
No, the simple answer is no. So what I would suggest, if you have especially if you have a stronger character, if you have a weak character, a bit of life leech, 3 or 6% is not going to help much at all.
Right.
If you have a weak character fighting very challenging aspects of the game, life leech is like way down on the rung of what's important, way low. Like you're looking for max resist mainly, and like good damage output, for example, if you're a melee character, because to be clear for anyone who wouldn't know, which everyone would, I guess, listening to this, but obviously life leech and mana leech doesn't work on spells. And if you're a spellcaster, your life is a lot easier actually playing through the game. It caters much more to spellcasters in its current form than it does to melee characters. Okay.
I can
you can, for sure. So if you have a really strong character, you have overpowered gear, or you're deeper into the ladder and you have everything you want, life leech and mana leech are more for quality of life than they are keeping you alive. It's not going to make the difference between you staying alive or dying. But what it will do is, if you don't want to spend the milliseconds picking up potions, you want to sustain your life pool and your mana pool. That's why you're going to have some sorts of life leech and mana leech for convenience. Right. That's the big difference. So even if you have 3% of each, and especially mana, because generally a melee character's mana pool is very small and their life pool is many-fold more than that, their mana pool. So the 3% being kind of the magic number to start with for mana leech makes a big difference in sustainability for mana. So that might be the difference between them needing to think about mana potions or not. That makes a big difference.
I mean, that's very interesting. Definitely, like, if I thought about life leech this much, this would totally change the way I think about life leech. But basically, like, it's pretty funny because like someone from like myself, right? And there's you have way more facts like that I can think of, but we'll make a whole episode about it because it's pretty awesome. And like anyone watching, you can see this is attention to detail for Diablo. Imagine if you work with him on what he does for his actual job and training. So,
for my livelihood.
So you got a good trainer on your hands. But for someone like myself who like, I spent a lot of time in my life, obviously less so now, but especially my younger years playing Diablo, understanding the items on a more macro level, like knowing that item, unidentified what that is, like, memory based things. But there's so many things like that you have told me that I was like, had no idea about, or intricacies that I had never looked into. So it's like super fascinating. And I know that anyone watching this was like, even a cat, and let's be honest, like almost everyone knows Diablo 2. Like whatever, maybe you played it a bit, maybe you played it a lot, Diablo 2. It's like, it's realistically like, I don't know. It's like for me, one of the most iconic games, of our generation. So
for sure.
So this won't be the last time we talk about it. I'm gonna give you a chance to think more about these little secrets, because we'll do
I mean, I can even think of one or two more now, but I'll save them for another time.
Let's save it because we can do a whole show on them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we'll leave it at that. I mean, hopefully people enjoyed this. If there's stuff you guys want to see us talk about, we'll figure out what we're going to talk about next. Who knows? We got endless topics.
Totally.
Let us know. But until next time, we'll
Sweet.
catch you later.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one,
Peace.
everybody. Peace.